Hey, we've got a major order success message. Surprisingly enough, the DSS has been sent to the Terminid side, but the Orbital Blockade isn't useful on the bug planets. We're going to talk about a lot more than just that. If you would like to support the channel, please hit the like button below at any point and subscribe with notifications on. Okay, let's start with the Democracy Space Station. It's currently located on the right side with the Terminids. But what's strange is that the new tactical action we have does not make a huge difference on the Terminids specifically. If you recall, the Orbital Blockade is supposed to block any ships that are exiting the planet. As you can see here, the developers wrote this. The DSS activates its zero-G anti-ship missile system to target large enemy spacecrafts attempting to exit the planet's atmosphere. It diverts excess manpower to super destroyer logistical support. Defense campaigns cannot originate from this planet. The Hellpod Space Optimization Booster is automatically active for all missions. Now, unless they're considering the Terminid Spore as a spacecraft, then perhaps it's helping. Yet at the same time, I don't think that's too appealing, since we don't see it in action. It's similar to how the major orders are described. You read it, you understand what's happening, but you don't see the details. Nonetheless, let's say it's specifically meant for spacecrafts like the Automatons. Then maybe we'll see it eventually in action. It just sucks that the Democracy Space Station isn't useful at all, considering the two tactical actions we've received, both the Planetary Bombardment and the Orbital Blockade, are practically useless at this point, except for the fact that we receive benefits from the Hellpod Space Optimization Booster. Yet at the same time, it's not that great. Plus, let's say the Orbital Blockade isn't meant for the Automaton side primarily. If so, that's completely worthless on the Terminid side. So when it comes down to voting, then that means we're going to have to be very careful on where we send the DSS, depending on the tactical actions used. It seems like the whole entire Democracy Space Station was just a complete waste of our time. The only good tactical action is the Eagle Storm, and that's it. Other than that, we have one tactical action that sends down missiles on random spots on the map, and the other, being the Orbital Blockade, does practically nothing in terms of damage, and there's no visuals to it at all. Now, I'm not trying to repeatedly bash the Democracy Space Station, but I mean, come on, there's no point in having it orbit around the planets we want to liberate, since it doesn't really have a huge benefit to it. What I'd like to see are your thoughts about this. Do you believe the Orbital Blockade is supposed to target spacecraft? We've seen that the other tactical actions are able to send down missiles or perform strafing runs, so what exactly is going on here? Post a comment below and let me know what you think about it. Continuing forward, we somehow managed to succeed with the latest major order. However, it's a bit odd considering we didn't liberate Helldivers or stop the Jet Brigade, yet somehow we did it. I guess we're successful for doing something. I think this is more of the developers handing us a win so that it plays a part in the storyline. That's my best guess. But as you can tell, the Jet Brigade are still on the left side where the Automatons can be located. With that said, we have the major order briefing that states, after days of fighting, Helldivers has fallen to the Automaton Jet Brigade. However, thanks to shrewd maneuvering by the Helldivers, the DSS is safely out of their reach. The Helldivers, in their democratic direction of the DSS, displayed undeniable tactical brilliance, demonstrating once again why they are known as the galaxy's most elite fighting force. Their efforts held the Automaton onslaught long enough to allow emergency evacuation efforts to save many citizens, many of whom aided the construction of the space station. The Jet Brigade remains a significant threat. Meanwhile, the crisis created by the sudden and shocking outbreak at the Terminid Research Center is ongoing. The addition of the DSS to liberate Arsenal, even in its diminished state, could not have come at a better time. Managed democracy is imperiled. We need every weapon at our disposal. The way it's written, it seems we're successful because we got the Democracy Space Station out of Helldivers, we rescued citizens, but at the same time, if I recall correctly, we were supposed to hold the planet, and we were also supposed to kill a certain amount of bugs, which we did. So yeah, I don't think it was a success considering the Jet Brigade is still around yet again. I believe the developers are handing us a win for this one. I'm pretty sure they wanted us to win the major order. If you check out the dispatch update from 4 days ago, it says this. Strategic updates. Safe reinforcements from Leseth, grateful for the recent liberation of their homes, have reclaimed key ground from the Automatons on Mastia in a valiant act of sacrifice. Of course, this is on Mastia instead of Helldivers, yet if you recall, the Jet Brigade were once on Mastia before making their way over to Helldivers. Not to mention, yesterday in my previous video, I talked about how they gave us a tip on which planet to liberate, and it was Mastia. That would have, stopped the whole entire Jet Brigade altogether. Instead, a good portion of the players stopped liberating Mastia and went over to Gala Ver. So again, we only won this major order because the developers handed it to us. And there's something here that plays a part in the story we just don't know yet. Hopefully this will clear up any sort of confusion you might have had. It's crazy to think we won this when in reality we basically failed it. Either way, a win's a win, and that's what happened as of late with the major order. Next up, we're going to go over some information together regarding the developers in-game. There's a post here by a player that asks, who is this? As you can see, there are 4 players, with one of them having colored text on their username. Could this be a developer playing the game? No, actually it's most likely this is a hacker or someone who modified the files so that their name would pop up with red text. The support team member B Vitamin commented on this post and wrote, "Devs don't appear differently in-game." So there's the proof, and avoid talking to anyone that has a special colored username. There's a good chance someone could use this to maliciously get information from you, claiming to be a developer when in reality they're not. Personally, I haven't seen this in-game. This is a first for me, but we know that the anti-cheat system is not that great, and a lot of players can bypass the anti-cheat without any sort of detection. It's best to keep yourself on your toes and be cautious about players who pretend to be developers when they're not. Let's now go over a community suggestion for the planetary bombardment, and I'd like to see what you all think about it as well as your suggestions on what should be done with it. As you can tell in this post, it received 5,200 upvotes, and this player suggested this. Make the planetary bombardment shell 760 mm HE. I absolutely love the planetary bombardment tactical action, even if the community doesn't. It's pretty clear AH plans to tweak it, alleviate friendly fire situations. That being said, I hope the solution isn't to make these bombs smaller or less frequent. After all, presidential class orbital cannons deserve to be revered and their power should reflect their title. This is why I suggest doubling the size of the bombs to 760 mm instead of the measly 380 mm. Any self-respecting president of one of Super Earth's many planets, not to be confused with the super president, would flex their guns and put our super destroyers to shame. This is a great suggestion, and it could be useful if they were to increase the planetary bombardment shell size. Personally, I think it would be better if they not only increase the shell size, but also had it target dropships and bug breaches specifically when they pop up. I believe altogether that would stop the friendly fire from happening. And it wouldn't hurt if they added a marker on the map to show where it's going to land before it does, giving us all a chance to avoid being struck by those shells. Not to mention, the Eagle Storm is able to target enemies successfully without any sort of issues. At least when I was playing, I didn't have any problems dying from the Eagle Storm. We know the developers are discussing what they can do with the planetary bombardment, and hopefully they are taking a look at what the community has suggested so far. The last thing we need for them is to not listen to us all and do something entirely different, possibly making things worse than they already are. I'm sure we all want this game to be successful, however, it's tiring hearing the same excuses essentially, where they're like, hey, we messed up, or we need to communicate better. Those type of responses we have been hearing for such a long time now, and it's tiresome. It was okay at first, but when it happens a second time, a third time, you kind of get sick of being told sorry. The last recommendation I want to bring up is quite amazing, and I think the developers should definitely look into this one. It's about the voting system and hiding the percentages. This player here recommended the developers do this. Similar to any poll made on social media where the results are hidden so that it doesn't influence on the choice of the person voting. The votes for where the DSS goes next should be hidden until the person votes on his own judgment. That way, the players who don't care about what's going on can simply vote wherever they want, and maybe they will win the vote, or maybe they won't. But also, the players that do care about what is going on can possibly choose the same planet as others who do care, or even come to social media to discuss with fellow Helldivers where to go next. I do see how anyone can simply post a photo on Reddit regarding the vote status, but I guess that anyone that would come to social media to see said photo does care enough to try to make a good decision. Someone who votes for whatever they want without any care for the outcome would not come to social media to see said photo. Like I've said at the start, I think this is an amazing and great idea. It would be a great way to stop players from feeling inclined to vote on a planet just because of how many votes it has received. My suggestion, if you recall from a previous video, I suggested that the voting should be strictly limited to only the planets that have a major order. For instance, we had to liberate Mastia, right? Well, make it so that the only planets on that side can be voted on, and vice versa. If there's a major order on the Terminid side, then allow us to only vote on the Terminid side. But what if there's a major order that requires us to be active on both sides? Well, then they could make it so that the voting is available for all the planets. We could also hide the votes to make it even better, like the player mentioned in that post, and it could very well be a great idea. I was worried that there were going to be issues with the voting system, and it turns out there are problems with it, but hopefully the Arrowhead developers, are listening to us, right? The Arrowhead developers need to figure out a way to make the voting system more robust and just better in general. Lastly, for today's video, I'm going to go over your suggested loadouts. If you guys would like to recommend one, then post a comment below. Also, if you already have done so, post it again and I might select it. The suggested loadout we have today is by YTYT2245, and this one is called Brasch's Brass Sack. Yeah. Anywho, we are going to be using the Blitzer to stun lock enemies like basic bugs. You could do it towards Brood Commanders and Alpha Commanders and all sorts of different types of basic bugs. The secondary is going to be the grenade pistol that we'll be using to close up bug holes, take out large groups of enemies that are together. Of course, we cannot forget about grenades because we're going to be using the stun grenades to stun enemies, so we can actually use that together with the 500 kg bomb. It's great. It pairs well. That way you can stun a charger and then throw that 500 kg bomb right on top of it. The second stratagem is the airstrike, and we're going to be using that on just bug breaches, enemies that are clustered together and all that. The third stratagem is the jump pack, so that way you can get out of those sticky situations when all the bugs are swarming on you. Last but not least, we have the machine gun to just take out hordes of enemies. I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, it still is anyways. Compared to all the other machine guns, I mean, this one's not bad at all. It's a solid choice. Personally, I'm not a big fan of machine guns, but I will give this one a 5 out of 5 because it's not bad at all. It's a pretty good one. So, give it 5 out of 5 General Brasch Brass Sacks, as you said, YTYT. With everything being said, this is your Helldivers 2 news. If you guys would like to be featured at the end of the video, all you have to do is post a comment below, and if you get enough upvotes, you might just be featured. The first comment is by YTYT2245. You're in range of enemy artillery. Yeah, I know, it's called the DSS. Yeah, I think everybody's annoyed by that a lot, so you're not wrong there, bud. I agree with you. The second comment is by Leo Artifacts 8158. The DSS Eagle saved my life 3 times against Hulks and Striders, so the samples we donated were worth it for me. Yeah, I agree with you too on that one. I think, the first one was terrible, but at least the Eagle Storm turned out to be quite successful. So when they do adjust the orbital, or not the orbital bombardment, excuse me, the planetary bombardment, that will be 10 times better. I mean, once they do adjust it anyways. The last comment is by Lord Demiurge 3765. I don't think the cooldown will actually be a week long. I think they just changed the cooldown to that long to prevent the orbital barrage from being active again before they are able to fix it. Possibly that could be the reason, and if so, that would be awesome. I did notice that the Eagle Storm was 3 days of waiting, so you could be right on that. Those right there are the top 3 comments. Thank you guys so much for commenting and let me know your thoughts and all that. I want to say thank you guys again for just continuously coming back to check out the videos. It truly is incredible. You guys just keep coming back. I'm happy to see it, but yeah, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, do it now. It's easy to do. You just click the red button. It's completely free. And also, if you guys would like to, you can support this channel by becoming a member, and that would mean a lot to me, so that way I can continue doing what I love to do, and that's to create videos. So yeah, thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.